Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the anime Goodnight World Season 1 on Netflix. And I did not enjoy this anime. Now, from the trailers, I thought this was focused on a dysfunctional family that kind of would be balanced between them having their dysfunction in the real world and actually functioning well in the game world. That is not what happens here. This is kind of all over the place. It is 12 episodes, and it really doesn't do much on the gaming front, and instead kind of morphs into this death game, AI take over the world, virus, supernatural kind of death curse phenomenon kind of thing. And it just has a lot of weirdness in it that goes on. It plays off more of the toxic dysfunctionality of the family and just shock value of the gore and certain kind of deaths, which actually doesn't really make sense because the main death that we get is one random dude from the game and the woman that wants to be the booty of the family patriarch Kojiro. It's really kind of weird. So, we got the Arima family headed by Kojiro, who is a perfectionist, and Taichiro, the eldest son, Asuma, the youngest son, and the mother, which she gets barely any fucking development time. And the thing is, he's a perfectionist. He pretty much teaches Taichiro how to code. Their younger sister is slower and not as good and makes mistakes and everything. And we learn that she pretty much forgot a book at school, and he made her go at night, and she gets murdered, and that kind of leads to Taichiro becoming a shut-in, though I think they needed to do at least a little bit more work to get that a little bit clearer, because he has a really bad relationship with his father, which can lead to the shut-in kind of stuff, and we don't really get much at the end with Asuma and Taichiro's relationship until we learn that, like, when they were kids, Taichiro used to be this really fun, energetic kind of kid with a lot of friends, and he would be the light for Asuma, and he kind of got that in the game, but we don't really see that in the game. We see the dysfunctional family and how Taichiro is, like, negative as shit, and pretty much vocabulary is just shit, and that's just like, oh god. And then his brother's kind of dismissive of shut-ins and everything like that and saying horrible shit, but then he finds out that they've been playing together. He's like, yeah, we should play together. And it's like, if they had just done the aspects of the game stuff, that would have been interesting, of like seeing how they like actually are able to communicate and figure out everything, because they don't know that they're family in the game. And like the main character is the mother, but we don't really get what's going on with the mother. She just left the family, left the husband pretty much, and has been like a net cafe citizen pretty much. I understand, and we don't really get what is the inciting incident. I mean, granted, the daughter dying, you are led to assume that that's it, but there's not enough screen time devoted to her character to know what the fuck's actually going on with her. She just pops up and be like, oh, Taichiro, here's croquettes, and what's going on here? Because we then get introduced to this blackbird of happiness, which is what we think is going to be the whole thing going on in the season, and it is, but not for the reasons you're thinking of, because there's a 300 million yen bounty on the damn thing, and that's why the Akabane family of Shiro, Kojiro, Ichi, A, and May, the Akabane family, they put us this house on Twilight Hill to go after the thing, but it's really fucking weird. And we get this side arc with this Pico character who is obsessed and stalking Ichi, but then we find out she's an AI that's feeding emotions to the Blackbird of Happiness AI, which then this other AI somehow takes over the damn thing, and like if you get killed by the Blackbird, it then puts you in like its Blackbird cage thing and pretty much like puts you into like a digital hell, running tests on you of like durability and shit, because we have this one character who was essentially just killed for that kind of reason. And then this one kid is friends with one of the AIs and decides to absorb like his guild people into it, and then somehow utilizes the thing, because it's never even really explained how like the Blackbird's able to digitize the consciousnesses. Because I swear to God, they just got somebody to write technobabble. Granted, I am watching it dubbed, so it could be better explained in Japanese, but they would have to go to a vast fucking length that would have made this make it any better. But Kojiro's pretty much been going through the game. He kills Pico, and it's like, what are your last words? I love Ichi. I was like, okay. Granted, I'm paraphrasing here. She's like, Ichi, I love you. But he's just going through and trying to destroy the Blackbird of Happiness, which is just like overrun AI. So, alright. Okay. It really was kind of weird, because the way it was kind of presented with the... Really, I want to say that it's deceptive marketing, because this was not what I thought this show was going to be. It just was too much shit thrown together, not well executed enough for me. The animation's great. I'm fine with it. I would have really liked to have seen what went on in the game world playing it, but it then goes to just the insanity of the dysfunctional family, which I would have liked the dichotomy of like them working and doing stuff together. You only get a little bit of that, and then it's just like world-ending kind of mess, because it's not explained how the Blackbird of Happiness can digitize this stuff, and then it's able to do it on a mass scale of like 70% of the population and putting them into like this amalgamation of planet and the real world. And then Kojiro pretty much is able to kind of figure out, you know what, I'm going to turn myself into a computer virus AI thing for this thing. And it's not explained how that kind of happens. And he wanted Taijiro to like pretty much delete his ass, but he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he actually made this one AI as a replica of the daughter. It's like, whatever. Okay. And then they kind of just die. They kind of like go off and die. And then they get back out in the real world, and it's 8 years later. He's doing better, working with the kid Leon, who was sad about his AI friend's death, and his brother's looking like his father. Their mother is still just sidelined pretty much, and they pretty much found the real world inspiration for the Twilight Hill. It's just... I felt lied to marketing wise of the trailer of this thing. I got through it and I'm like, huh, so this is just shock value and just not understand what they kind of want to do with it. If it was like the inner dynamics of a family, the understanding of them in the real world versus the virtual world, and how they kind of interact in the game, that's a cool premise to kind of go on. The AI stuff, that's a cool premise as well. But you throw them all together and it just turns into poorly executed just mishmash of ideas that just didn't work for me. But if this worked for you, I'm glad for you. It's just, I didn't care that much about how they were presenting this and what they were doing for it, because I'm like, I felt lied to with what this was supposed to be versus what I got. And then the gore for like gore's sake is just like, alright. I don't mind it, but it's just like, alright. And then like Kojiro kind of like fiddling around with a dead body. I'm like, alright. Now granted it was in the digital world, but I'm like, alright, you're not really presenting yourself as a good kind of case here, man. And I'm glad that the characters got to a good kind of bit. And then it's really kind of weird because we also got like a happy ending, because Pico was killed, but somehow she popped back up in like the Blackbird of Happiness's kind of cage death thing, because Ichi was able to kind of get Asuma out of that thing, even though he really shouldn't have been able to. And like the Ichi, they cloned Taichiro's brain pretty much and made an AI of him, and then his AI and Pico's AI were able to be together in that world. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? Listen, I'm not against happy endings, okay? Those are usually my favorite kind of things. And when they're well done and well executed, I love them. This is just like, alright, I mean, I'm glad that they worked out in the real world. I'm glad these AI ones got it, but, like, what the fuck is going on here? I came here for a burger, and you gave me one fucking weird-ass burger that I just wanted bare bones. Like, whatever, man. I wanted cheese pizza, and you gave me, like, anchovies and pineapple sauce mixed with fucking oysters. This isn't working well. It's technically a pizza, but I don't know what the fuck's going on here. So, I think that the game aspect was poorly utilized, especially with the stuff that they were attempting to talk about with it, of like how people interact with games and how people can go too far with them, or how people can be so dismissive of them that it all that kind of stuff. Because the one dude that got thrown into pretty much digital hell was like, fuck this game, I'm just doing it for the money, ha 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 ha. And like, this game is shit, and this is all shit. It's like, yeah, that toxic mentality, fuck that kind of shit. And then Pico, like, I had my friends, I had Ichi, and all that kind of stuff, and still wanting to balance that with the real world. It's like, okay, but none of that is actively explored as much as it could be, or as I was led to believe of like, oh, okay, so this is why you would utilize this game world. No, we're just going to have it as a death game kind of thing, and just do that kind of shit. I was very disappointed in this. I wouldn't recommend it really to anyone because there's better stories, better utilization of the video game kind of aspect, and all different kind of things. But if you enjoyed it, I'm happy for you. I'm glad. Get your enjoyment, and if you want to recommend it to people, that's cool. It's awesome. I want you to be able to talk to people about it and have that kind of fun. This wasn't for me. And I wouldn't recommend it to people because the characters, I didn't really like any of the characters. So I couldn't really even get anybody's anchored into. I could understand certain characters, but I didn't like anybody. So none of the deaths, none of the things really affected me or anything. Towards the end, like, Pico is the only one that I would probably be like as neutral to. Plot-wise, I didn't like it. Action-wise, it's okay, but once you realize that that's not the main focus and not really going to be utilized as much, you're just like, oh, I'm just happy that I get a little something, but it's just like, eh. So, yeah. I didn't really like this, and I really wouldn't recommend it, but if you had fun with it, I'm happy for you. So, those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.